Hi guys, I'm Sunny Chayes and I am absolutely delighted to be with you today for the Sunny Chayes Show, and we are going to be doing some very important work today in this show. I feel like I have a guest who's a very special friend of mine. I've been working with him for a long time on his books, sort of putting together the stories. He mainly is a story person, but just kind of going deeper. And today we're going to be talking about a lot of important things that we know we need to be talking about, and in a new and fresh way, I hope. Our guest is Carlos Hardy. He's written 6 books. He's also a producer and an artist. He actually did all these covers, which I find completely amazing. He's from Flint, Michigan, and he's a very, very clever writer, I feel. His voice is not the average bear. It's not what you normally hear at all. And he adores the sci-fi, fantasy, genres, and he seems to weave them together in this really magical way, which I just think is so rocking. And he's doing a book tour in the next 30 days. He's going to be going all over the place. Check out that bus. Oh my God, it's going to be so fun. He's going to Chicago and Phoenix and LA, San Francisco, all different kinds of places like that. And he is a philanthropist, and he's got just a brilliant mind, which we'll just about find out. So let us bring him on, Tony. Carlos Hardy. Ow!
When you read that, I was like, who's she talking about? Because I want to get to know who that is.
Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? I
Yeah,
love that. So
yeah.
thank you so much for being on our
Thanks
show.
for having me. I appreciate it so much.
Well, I want to get right into
Okay.
it.
Let's do it.
When I was reading your books and playing around with them and everything, I found the heart, the creativity, kind of weaving together the sci-fi, the fantasy, and the real what's up.
Yeah, it's there.
So it's all there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want you to kind of jump in and just share with us what you're feeling right now.
I'm feeling a lot because, like I say, I write a lot. I mean, a lot. Even when I'm not writing, I'm writing, whether it's like editing in my head or, just creating these, or crafting these stories in my head. I'm always doing that based on life and assumptions and people and experiences. I'm always like kind of, collating these ideas and making them stick, and then writing something about them. But I think reading and writing are like the gateway to people's souls. And when you get there, when you're able to find a great book that kind of speaks to you and that kind of throws you or propels you out of your comfort zone, I'm telling you that it's astonishing because it forces you to use your imagination. And that's the whole point of writing, is for me to give you a vivid time where you can sit back wherever you're at the beach, whatever, and you can just read something and you can take your mind into this place that's fictional. You know what I mean?
Yes.
At the moment, and that's the whole point for me. That's why I write, to give you something.
Well, also, I'm thinking as you were speaking, I have a pad of paper in front of me, and just words come out of my head while I'm listening to my guest talk, and so that's why I have a big, like a kid's pad here. And as you were speaking, I was thinking of Frederick Douglass.
Oh, Frederick, yeah.
And I was thinking about Booker T. Washington, and I was thinking of the books that I've read by them. And I was thinking of them. Oh my God, I'm going to start crying already. But I was thinking about them as a white person, and when I read Booker T. Washington and how he talks about his experience, there's almost a matter of fact generosity, grace that he has that I think, how in the bleep is that going on?
Because at that particular time.
At that particular time, in 1902, when he's writing from a slave. What am I thinking of? It'll come to me. It'll come to you too. But
I'm just gonna have to come up with somebody.
Somebody out there is going to come up. I was going to say 12 Years a Slave, but that's that's a couple years ago.
Situation. Yeah.
But listening to his words, and then again Frederick Douglass and his a brilliant intellectual mind, and how he was beaten and beaten and beaten to have all of that come out of him, to end. And it just didn't happen. So I think of your books, and I think that you've done a similar thing in a different way. You have taken the ideas of of a painful, a painful kind of just situation that we
Right,
have. I don't
right.
even know what to call it.
Mhm.
And you've really made us think about it in such a different way. So I just want to share that with you.
Just to
And thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. Just go back just a little bit. I really feel that when you have the Booker T. Washingtons, the Frederick Douglasses, and people like that at that era and time, I think they were really trying to escape what was happening. And so the best way to escape is through some kind of force. Some people do it with alcohol, some people do it with drugs, some people do it with sex, whatever. I
But he's
think
telling the stories though
right,
too.
but I think he's going. What I'm saying is, the escapism is I have
The
to write something.
abstractism?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
It has to be
Okay.
placed somewhere because it's something that people. It's an unknown. You know what I mean, to a lot of people.
And
So,
it's too painful?
too painful. So it's better to
Okay.
just let me just write it. Let me just put it out there. If someone
Okay.
just happens to find it and to read
Okay.
it and to be able to grab something from it, that's the whole point of a writer. That's what they want you to be. They're like our books to us, and literature and poems and all that stuff is similar to pearls in the sea. If you find, I mean, you go to the library, there's a million books. But the one that you find is for you. And when you find it and you can find it 10 years later, 20 years later, after I'm gone or whatever, you will be able to still have, it's still going to be able to carry on.
Well, the other thing,
Mhm.
thank you for that. And the other thing that I think happens with your books, and when I'm bringing up different people like that, or even Obama, when he wrote, not the one that he's written just now, but the one that he wrote before, right around the time being a senator,
The
some of the
Audacity of
way
Hope?
that, pardon me?
The Audacity of Hope?
No, the
Not that
one
one. Oh, it
where
was the
he
first
writes
one before
letters
that.
to my
Oh, you let
father.
us, okay.
And
Mhm.
that one is actually more painful for me to read than the
Really?
Booker T. Washington one, because he's so real and it's so painful and it's so
Mhm.
it's again, as a white person, it's just like, whoa, this is big.
It's heavy,
This
huh?
is heavy. This is very heavy.
Right.
And when he explains things about, how he is on the basketball court and just different things that a white person like me would not know naturally.
Mhm, mhm,
So when you write your books and you're talking about melanin,
mhm.
being so valuable, and
Yes.
these different concepts, it's like we get in so
Mhm.
deeply to something that we may not think about. And then for you,
Right.
as a black person, as a minority, like what voice, what do you, what is your language, what is your voice, how do you, and you're youngish and all that
Mhm.
stuff. So talk about your voice in all of this that you're tapping into.
I, I'm I'm the third child of 8 siblings.
Oh.
So yeah, so I've had to be very imaginative. I had to imagine my entire life. Like I had to imagine that there was more food left that was there because it
Uh-huh.
wasn't there because you have 7 brothers and sisters and everybody's so I'm
Yeah.
always imagining in my mind. I'm always doing something in my mind. But with the books for me, I'm telling you, Sonny, the books for me are a I want to be able to give back in a way where especially, but not limited to, but especially kids of color are able to see themselves in a way that's going to allow them to feel proud and feel great and feel invincible. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think when other cultures look at what I've written or read what I've wrote, they will pretty much, in my mind, begin to understand why I'm writing it and begin to
Okay.
understand what it's about because there's this void out there. I think just for what I see, there's this void where people don't talk about, they're dancing around things
Oh yeah.
all the time, and I
Oh
get
yeah.
it. And of course, council culture or accountability culture, whatever you want to call it, I don't care, whatever. But the reason why I think it's very very pivotal to write these type of stories is so that kids can see themselves, so that adults can see themselves. You know what I mean? Who don't normally see themselves, and particularly stories like this. That's why I like to go outside the realm. I really don't do reality. I love anything that's going to take my mind outside of my neighborhood from Flint, Michigan, or outside Inglewood, or outside Long Beach, or outside Houston, Texas. I want to be able to go to this world that you don't even know about, and I'm helping you to formulate it in your mind. You know what I mean? Because you're reading and you're like, oh, you're creating that world. You're helping me to create the world by reading it.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
because we are in your dance with you.
Yes.
Again, some thoughts that came to my mind when you were talking is one of the things that I love about your book, and again, for people who don't, who want to relate and may not be part of the world specifically, is that you have in your books, which I love this, you have what someone may call a real clear kind of go with the flow, it's all good kind of person.
Yeah, yeah.
Then you've got the like militant. I'm not going to take, like, are you kidding me with that? Like, did you hear what he said? Did you see how she looked at you?
Right.
Are you going to stand for that, person?
Because those people, they exist in real life.
100,000,000%.
Yeah.
And then you have a few people in between. And so what I like is that you also have the conversation in your books many times with the person who's like, let's just not make waves. Let's just do, don't worry. They don't understand. They don't really get it. To the person who's like, I don't care. They don't get it. Like, they're not going to be,
not
what
my
I mean?
problem that they don't get it.
Like, I'm not digging it. And they get into it. And
Right.
and I love those conversations because I'm like, yeah. It's like a, what do I want to say? It's like a sports game. It's like they're two teams, and and both have good points to me as I'm watching the tennis match.
And as you're reading it, the viewer or the reader is deciding which side are they on.
Indeed.
Or are they in the middle, or do they care enough to get invested? And like I said, when I write the books, particularly the Bee Jean series, I wanted to really, really maybe ruffle a couple of feathers and
go for it.
A little rippling in the ocean, just a little bit, not a lot, but just a little bit, because anytime you get outside yourself or you become a little bit what we call uncomfortable, we become while reading, that's good because it lets the author know you're invested, but it also lets you be able to move that story along while reading. Like you can move you help the story, and because you're thinking in your mind, I hope it ends this way, or where is it going, and what, like, you have all these question marks, and that's the point of reading. That's why I remember being a kid and reading books. I'm just like, I just had all these questions, and I was just so like immersed in just all of it. And I was like, oh yeah, I know what it did for me, and I know what it can do for tons of teens, young adults, kids, adults as well.
Well, and that creativity, the asking of questions, in being an interviewer and doing these shows for as many years as I have, one of the things that I've learned from many wiser people than I am is really the wise people have said, I can learn so much about you by the questions you ask.
Yes.
And I think that's so true. And so in these books, I mean, you do bring up questions, and you bring up inspiration, and you bring up hope, and you bring up solution, and you bring up what's up.
Yeah.
You just bring up what's up. And
it's
I
all in
love that.
It's all in there. And like I say, there's a plethora of readers, and they're all going to come away with something.
Oh, yeah.
No one's going to come with nothing. They're going to come away with something after reading any one of the books. Because like I say, there's a social element to it, but at the same time, there's a fun element. There's an imaginative element. Like, I really want it to be like just broader. I want you just to broaden yourself. And when you read, because you read the books, Sonny.
I sure did. I sure did, cover to cover.
I know
many times.
You and I were talking about it, and we would just go back and forth. But it's just a good feeling. It's a good feeling when a reader can read it and get their own interpretation. That's the whole point.
Well, that is really, really the truth. I remember I'm old enough to remember before music videos and MTV. I'm like aging myself or dating myself. But I remember a lot of musicians were saying that they kind of didn't dig it because they felt like the music that they had written and the song and all the production that went into it was its own little movie or its own little, tale, story, journey, and that putting then a picture to it, whole people doing whatever they're doing, that becomes the visual that people connect with the music always. And they kind of didn't dig it, some of the people, and then they kind of went with it because it was a thing. But I think that's the same with books. It's like you get to imagine what Mickey looks like. You get to imagine what's happening with the sky when crazy things are happening.
And that's a powerful tool. That's visual, that tool right there for kids growing up. You need to exercise that tool. And unfortunately, with social media, a lot of kids and young adults and adults don't get to exercise that imagination anymore because it's all given to you. This is what it looks like. This is how it's going to be. This is the way you're supposed to react, and this is how you're supposed to perceive it. So the books give you an idea to go into your own imagination. Well,
and you really have a lot of things to imagine in these books. And something else that I really love is that you do have superpowers, superheroes, and
some of them,
I really like that you have a lot of thought-provoking and kind of consciousness and journeys of conscience in all of your books. Like the hero's journey. Many of them are going on paths that have not been before because it's sci-fi. So they may be going into a sort of spaceship, or they may be going down tunnels or down paths, and they don't know what's going to happen yet. And sometimes I feel like they are in a video game,
but it's representing life.
What's going to pop out of what door? What's what are they going to what are they going to fall down a tunnel? Are they going to be sucked up into the sky? Are they going to be if somebody dies, do they get to come back to life? Stuff like that, which I kind of like that. I like that.
I don't like coming back to life. If you die in my books, you're dead. Only reason why is because I just think there's Bible. There's this well, not Bible, but there are rules to writing. There are rules to writing, because if not, you'll get into this place where you just can't come back from, and then your readers are unforgiving. True. At certain points. So you have to be. I think you got to be very, very careful. And also, I try to teach writing as well. You got to be very, very careful about how you kill someone, how you bring them back, and what your plans are for them, and things like that.
Well, and that's what I think is great about what you've done, because you really, really map it out. And I'm really, really about the superheroes. I didn't really realize that I was until I really see the place they play in our society. What we can where we can identify and stuff. And again, as a white person, I think I cried through Black Panther all the way through it, because I was like, can we have this? Like, guys, can we imagine a world where the most brilliant, the most intelligent, the most heart-filled people can be our leaders? Can we have a society like that, Carlos? Can we allow that? And we, the people, are the people who really do allow it. And some people may say this or that, or strings are pulled or whatever, but ultimately, some way, someday, somehow, come on, this is what I want. And when I see Black Panther and I see that beautiful person with what he does and how he is in Wakanda, and how there's so much stuff there that for healing and all of that, and then the humility of it all, the trees that cover Wakanda, so when you go over it, you don't know it's there, and they're cool with that. It's like, it's okay, people. We don't need, when we go to the UN, we'll wear our just like very common clothes and stuff like that. We're not about it. And, but we've got it going on like better than any place on the planet Earth probably ever will. And so that is my prayer I'm sending out. Can we have Wakanda on Earth at some point? Can we have Black Panther?
Wakanda and Black Panther, it has to live within you. It has to. It has to. Like, it's one of those things, and notions that it's outside of you, but it's always in you. Like, it's always in you. It's all about what life is really about what you're reflecting, and as you're getting stuff back, what you're reflecting.
Amen.
And
so
that's
thank you for reminding me of that. To clarify that, because
it can't be that.
So completely
because
agree
there's
with that.
Wakanda for a lot of people in the world.
Yes,
it's just that when you're looking at the absence of Wakanda, it can't find you.
Okay, amen, Carlos. Thank you for clarifying that, because absolutely, and that's why I'm saying that I want to, right now, right here, right in this moment, like declare Wakanda forever.
Oh no, it's going to be BG forever,
or BG forever. Yes, thank you, because we can
have them both. They both can live.
Well, because they can live. The BG can live in the Wakanda land. With all the healing and all.
There's so
live
many
together.
Stories, Sonny.
And can we know that that's possible? And I think that's a thing that we don't always know. I had Patrice Cullors of Black Lives Matter on my show a number of years ago, and then I've had her on off and on. And one of the things that she said on the show, which really gets me, is she said, someone imagined the gun. Someone imagined the bullet.
Yes.
Can we imagine a world where all children are free, where all children can be safe? Can we imagine that? If we can imagine a gun, we can imagine Wakanda. And I love you reminding me that I too have Wakanda within me. Yay.
Yeah.
I'm going to be, I'm that, okay, yeah, I'm making a, I don't even know what. I'm going to make a painting of that and have it in
Yeah,
my
because
house.
it's never outside of your life.
Of
And
course.
it's always
you
in,
know,
it's
so
always
true.
in, regardless of what you're seeing. You know what I mean? It's always within you.
Yes, and I lived in South Africa, and I lived there for a few years, and so there's so many elements that go on that are very sacred and very ritualistic and very important, which I believe in sacred and ritual. And let us drink to that. I will let you get your coffee, and I will
Let's
drink.
do it.
Let us drink to the sacred and the ritual.
Yes.
I'm drinking. Because we really, you know, embody it, and you're absolutely right. And we are now giving you guys permission to know that you too embody Wakanda and the Beijing after you read it, so you know what we're talking about.
Yeah, please.
And really, you know, imagine, like Patrice says, imagine a world where all children are safe and free and have food and everything they need. Yes?
Right. Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
I mean, so I want to, but yes, again, the superpower thing, and for us all to know that we do have the superpowers.
Yeah, even if we don't know we have it, like Wizard of Oz, you know, the girl Dorothy, you've always had it. You've always had it, and that, see, stuff like that just, it blows my mind as a writer. Like those little nuggets and those little gems like that when he told the Good Witch told Dorothy, you've always had it. And I'm in my mind, like for a person watching, it may just go over their head, but for me, as a writer, as a person who, you know, kind of connected spiritually, I'm like, yes, I get it. And what she was saying is, whether it's the power, whether it's the love, the purity, whatever it is, the courage, you've always had it. It's you just you're not looking at it, but you always have it.
And to go a little deeper with that, what actually happens is the scarecrow. She says, "But Dorothy, you've always had the power to go home." And the scarecrow gets mad, and he's like, puts his hand, he's incensed, and he looks at Glinda, the Good Witch, and says, "Why didn't you tell her?" And she says, "Because she wouldn't have believed me."
Right.
And it's like, again, our hero's journey. It's like at this, it's often about the timing too. So, you know, sometimes it is about the quiet. It is about the allowing. It is about giving us permission again to have, you know, to have to access our power as superpowers. And what is that? By the way, if you had a superpower, what would it be?
For me?
Yeah.
A superpower?
Yeah, what is yours? And if you're thinking, I can tell you what mine is.
I already got a superpower. You see this melanin? This is superpowers.
Okay, let's drink to that too. I mean, you're drinking coffee, I'm drinking, you know, 8.5. But I mean, I love it.
No, but
my God.
For real, let's be honest.
No, I mean, let's go. Let's go in.
Honest. Like,
go in.
There's no, like, I wouldn't. Even though like a couple of my characters in my other books have powers and all this other stuff, but for me, I don't think that there will be, maybe to fly, because I'm always dreaming about flying. I love to fly. Like, I fly all the time in my dreams, and it's so natural now. It's not like before. I was scared because I'd be way up there in the you see the cloud. It just looked just so angelic. But now I've accepted it. So probably for my superpower, flying. Yeah.
And you're more intentional with it. You know, they say that you're either flyer people in your dreams or you're not. I fly too. And I fly very intentionally. It's super cool. Like when Avatar came out, many years ago. By the way, that kind of came from Fern Gully, but anyway, it's another subject. Oh my God, and the way the avatars flew, it's like, that's how I fly. Like, I fly down, and then I fly up a mountain, and then I fly around, and I can go really low. It's really fun because I feel very in control of it.
That's
super
the key word.
fun.
Control.
Yeah, I dig that. So for me, it would be to be able to speak any language.
Oh, really?
Oh my God, I would love that. If I could, and really speak in their language, like if I was speaking to people in Cuba, I could really speak about corn in the way they do. Or if I'm speaking to people in China, I can really, speak in their real way. So that would be my superpower, not just to have the words, but to have the, if I'm speaking Xhosa to the Bushmen, I can actually speak Xhosa. I want to be able to, that would be my superpower.
That would be just amazing to have that type of superpower, like to just go from place to place, just talking to people, just,
And in their real way, because you can learn some words and say, "Oh, hola, qué tal," and whatever, but it's not the same as
the natives gonna say it.
The words, I love the words, and I will say I feel like each book of yours has evolved. So
Thank
guys,
you
when
for
you
that.
read them, I really do. I
I
really do.
appreciate
It
it.
and your ability of writing has evolved for sure. You've got much more kind of literary actually and artistic in your word usages
Yeah.
and your sort of descriptions of what's going on with people or a situation.
Hmm.
It has a real flow and a real, like you're painting a picture for us to
Right.
look at.
Right.
And each book, so I recommend you guys read all four. So like to even say the first book, let's see, what is our first book here?
It's gonna be B Gene,
Oh, B. Jean is
the
the
very
first book.
first
Oh,
one.
and yeah, so you're seeing it at the top of the screen. And then the second book is,
The B Gene 2,
yes. And
and
then,
then Balan and the Path to Redstones,
mm-hmm.
and then you have Why Boys Are Afraid of the Dark, which I did. That one was done over quarantine.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
Isn't that
yeah. I
something?
finished that one over quarantine. Yeah.
I wondered if that would happen. I'm really curious, by the way, with the whole quarantine thing.
Oh my
I'm
God.
thinking, looking back, how people are going to see this time.
Right.
And yeah, I have a dear friend who is Indian. She lives in India, and
Hmm.
she's a master, and she's doing a project called the Miracle of 2020.
Oh, okay.
She's sort of
Of course.
allowing us to reformulate the concept of kind of the
What
COVID
happened and
being,
everything. Yeah.
a nightmare or this or that. And yes, indeed, many things happen
Again,
for
it could
many
be
people.
whatever it is
And
that you
she's
make it.
having all these people come together.
Mhm.
Perhaps I will invite you. I will.
Yeah.
I will invite you. I'm
Yeah.
doing it right now. I'm inviting you to give her a story
Okay.
for the Miracle of 2020.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
so
definitely.
out there, people, when you see that, Carlos will have a story
I'll
in
have a
it
story for y'all, so get ready.
about the miracle, miracle,
Yes.
miracle.
Yes.
And I love that I shall do it too. And
Hmm.
each story I suggested to her, she had a big meeting with all producers and people and whatever. And I said, let's do it 900 words,
Hmm.
small, a short story,
Okay.
and let us pick one thing. Like, don't just everybody say, well, I got to eat whatever I want and do
Hmm.
yoga more and spend time with my
Be very
kids and
be very
nine or
intentional
10
and
things.
specific.
Like,
Yeah.
what was a miracle that
Yeah.
you really had? And then go in
Oh, I had
about
a
that,
couple.
go deep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then if you have a couple, you can
Hmm.
write 2 stories
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
3 stories,
Yeah. You know me, I'll be on that stories like. Whoop, whoop,
Good. Okay. Good.
whoop.
Good. Good. We need it in 3 weeks. So there you go. And speaking of stories,
Hmm.
I feel like I want to read something from your book. Is that okay?
Before you read that from that book,
Okay.
okay, can I just tell them what the book is about?
Please.
Just a little bit.
Oh gosh.
So
Yes.
the B Gene is a book series, of course. This is the first one. You can probably see it there. The first one's there.
Oh,
it's
you
right
can
there.
put it in the camera
It's
like
right there.
this.
The first one's there.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there it is there.
You're holding
So
it. We're
so
holding
that first one up top there that you see, it's about Caleb Prescott. He's an HBCU, which is a historically black college freshman, and he has a couple of friends, Jaden and his other friend is B, and they're just a group of friends, and they decide to go to college, and they're top of their class. They all were expected, or what do you call it when you get an entrance? They were accepted.
Uh-huh.
They were all accepted into major universities like Harvard and Yale.
Stanford.
But they decide to go to Lanier University, which is a HBCU that's fictitious that I made up. That's my father's name.
Oh, that's
So,
cool.
Yes,
it's like Brown or Howard,
exactly,
that kind of thing.
It's like that.
Yeah.
So they went there, and
Mhm.
these mysterious storms begin to happen. They're trying to figure out what's happening with these storms. In the first Beijing book. And then as the story began to unravel, and they begin to understand what's really happening, and so pretty much the government is subsidizing their melanin some kind of way, and they're trying to figure out what's going on and how it's happening, how do you abstract melanin and what's in it. So that is the and it's funny because I did a short film about it, about the books. So that's the first one, and then the second one is it picks up where the first one leaves off.
So, and I'm reading from the second
So
one.
you're reading from the second book.
Okay.
This is a piece that Sonny's going to read that's going to let you know a little bit about what's happening. So if y'all listening, you better listen.
Okay, here we go. Guys, we have to keep moving, Caleb urges. Heading straight into the cyclone of people, Mickey rejoins, barely missing a step. The teens cut through a recreational park a bit further up the street. Athletically fit, tall black men shoot hoops on the local basketball court. Sure enough, as the Akashi ship approaches, the players put their game on hold, instantly racing to the edge of the fence, peeking through the gaps for a closer look. They stare with extreme shock and curiosity as more and more bodies ascend into the belly of the overbearing spacecraft. Caleb watches the men from afar, feeling a temporary a wave of helplessness. Deep down, he knows that before long, the entire black population will be taken in by the Akashi. If he doesn't try to change things, that is. The teens watch as the black citizens soar into the persuasive white light. A single basketball plummets to the ground, left behind. Soon they realize that the faster the black citizens enter the ship, the faster they are transformed into fighting Akashi warriors. All of a sudden, Jalen makes up his mind. Without any warning at all, he races toward the light, leaping into the radiant blaze with his arms open wide, gladly accepting what is to come. The courageous teen rises skyward, floating into his destiny without a fear or care in the world. No, Jalen, no! Caleb screams at his best friend. So, there we go. And then what happens? And then what happens? That's the other thing. These books are kind of page turners. That's the other thing. You have built in, a thriller aspect. Like, okay, so, and we do care about the people, and that's really important.
You got to care about your characters.
We do care what happens to Jalen, and it's like, and we can feel Caleb like, wait a minute, no, what?
Right.
It's like when Persephone gets sucked in by Hades into the underworld. It's like, no, it's done. And that's what happens, and it's like and the relationships with the people is are very strong.
I think as characters, you have to have this sensibility, this vulnerability. You have to be this, whether it be this triumphant character or this, characters are very meek. You have to have all elements of different characters because people are really reading themselves in these stories. Some of them are, aggressive. Some of them are passive. Some of them are passive aggressive. Some of them are, fun. Alcoholic. Whatever the case may be. There's a plethora of characters in the world. I see them all the time. They're usually at Starbucks when I see them, and I begin to write about them, or Walmart,
Hence
or wherever.
The coffee that's right by you there.
So it's so like. It's so weird just because you see a character and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna write all about you because you are that character. So I try to have my characters like have these, these different, quirks and things like that about themselves so that you can, they're easy identifiable. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing about, yes, and they're also three-dimensional, which I find very frustrating when I read books and I feel like, okay, this character, or when I watch a movie show, TV shows or movies, and the character is just mean, or is just snarky, or is just an ass. It's like, but why is he mean, snarky, or an ass? Like, but we're all a lot of things, and it's like, and it just gets really tiresome for me. So when you're talking about, like I'm always talking about words. I mean, even using the word meek, that word means so much. I mean, it's in the Bible as the meek shall inherit the earth. Well, what does that actually mean? Does it mean the humble? Does it mean the youth? Does it mean the child? It doesn't, being meek doesn't just mean weak and namsy-pamsy and a mouse.
I agree.
And so, but what does it mean? And in your books, what does that actually mean? All the different words. And so for your writing style, and, you really write with a purpose. Like you write because you need to, and I want you to chat a little bit, if you don't mind, about kind of the writing and words and stuff like that. And I feel like you're really inspiring, not only for kids to read, and we will be talking about open a book, open a mind, but the, and the idea of, I think your books are really inspiring for young people and to write.
I mean, that's pretty much, that's part of it. Like I said, I was that young boy, that age, and I wouldn't even say hate, but I didn't like reading because it wasn't, forced. We wasn't forced to read. Some parents, force you to read, and I gotta read this book. My parents wasn't like that. Unfortunately, they were just like, whatever you want to do, you can do whatever. So I had to take the initiative to pick up a book and read. And as I began to pick up all these different books, I'm just like, wow, this is amazing. This is incredible. And it's all for me at the time. It was escapism. I wanted to escape, what was going on at home. So reading was my thing. But for writers and people who love books and love character and character development, I always tell them to just be clear on your intention.
Mhm.
All of the books that I've written, there's an intention about it. They all don't have to be about social justice. They don't all have to be about a point, but there's always a point A,
Mm.
a point B and a point C. It's never just going to leave you flat. You're not going to just fall off the cliff like, what is this jumbled mess? We're always going somewhere. We're always trying to think about the next move. And it's funny because I'll have an idea for a book and I'll just put it in my notes in my phone, and it'll be there. It can sit there for a year, and as it's sitting there, other things in life, ideas and life experiences kind of add to what that is. And before I know, when it's ready, just like a baby, when it's ready, it's ready. And then I pull it out and then I begin to write the outline because it's ready. It has to happen. Just like when I wrote White Boys Are Afraid of the Dark, that had to happen during the COVID. It had to happen because it wasn't prevalent in my mind before then. So I knew, it when it came to my mind, I said, "Oh, this is the time to write it." I had time. We know everybody was off work and we were just at home, quarantine. So I'm like, yes, gave me a great opportunity to do it. I did it, and I was just like, "Oh, it was amazing." But it takes time, and I think, like I say, I definitely want to express to anybody who's thinking about writing or anyone who want to write any kind of stories that are vivid and imagination or creativity. Take your time, but be intentional. Be intentional with your story. Be intentional with the character development. Be intentional with your antagonist, protagonist. Be intentional. And you just mentioned, why is this person mad? Why are they snarky? Why there has to be some type of backstory that's going to get your reader like, oh my God, this is why this character Caleb is this way, and that's why she's that way. That's the whole point of writing, being able to tie up the loose ends. So by the time the very end of the book, you're like, you feel resolved. You feel
satisfied.
I want my readers to feel satisfied. And then if you don't feel satisfied, that's your problem.
Right.
Because that's what we're doing.
There is that. And there are a few things that you were saying that I love about that. First of all, I want to tell you that I kept a notebook by the TV or here or there with after the George Floyd incident, there were many things that changed. And one of the things that happened when I was reading your book, you have black capitalized. In other words, black person, black movement, black
whatever that
not
represents.
just a black color.
Yeah.
And I've been saying forever, I don't understand why the word Earth is not capitalized, because Pluto is, Uranus is, and whatever,
Jupiter,
and it's not. And it's not. I mean, there's Earth that's like dirt, that's not capitalized, but Earth, planet Earth, is not capitalized either. It's like pisses me off, but now people are just doing it so good. Well, there was a young lady, and I can't remember her name right now, but you guys can Google it, and just when I tell you this story, you just Google it and you'll get her name. I would like to honor her. She's a college student.
Okay.
And so she's 20, 21, and she was like, why isn't black like black people, why isn't that word capitalized? What's up about that? And she wrote a letter to Webster Dictionary and was like, what's up?
Right.
Not she got a letter back from Webster Dictionary, and guess what? They changed it.
Did they?
In the dictionary. And not only that, but they went back and checked out some other words like that. And I'm not remembering, because it actually in the article didn't say what other words, but other words that had to do with social justice or people of minorities, or just, maybe they capitalize Earth now, whatever.
And sometimes these things aren't even intentional. There's no malice or ill will about it. It's just that it's history had given over to that.
Right.
And once we get past that, then we can go back and revisit those things.
But it's also shining the light on it, and so that's why I really love that. And there were other things that were happening. I mean, Martin Luther King's granddaughter, I think Yolanda's niece, I forgot who her mom was, the little one, 7 years old, was speaking on the stages. I mean, so many. I mean, I have a book filled with things that happened from the George Floyd experience, going forward. And I wrote a few down, and then I thought, I want to keep a record of this, because this is pretty intense. This is pretty amazing. So, I wanted to mention that, and then I also wanted to say about Caleb and Jalen in your books. I mean, as characters. And Caleb again is kind of the superhero, but he is also the let's calm down, people.
He's the calm in the storm.
Well, and he also is, have to say, a solutionary. So in that calm, which is something for us all to know no matter what
Right.
whatever's going on, that sometimes the calm in the storm, the eye of the hurricane, that sort of thing, which he really is. He's
Hmm.
sort of the eye of the hurricane, I think. um, Wisdom comes.
Right.
And for
Of
all of us, we
course.
know, that when we're the hurricane we're destroying
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
And Jalen is the one who is like,
He's the
brother,
volcano.
this is not going down with
Jalen
me.
is a volcano, and I'm telling you, you gotta have those. As
And
crazy
they
as it
love each
sounds,
other,
and they because I mean, and it's okay because because there's a to me when they're together, when Jalen and Caleb Prescott are together as friends, and they're living out their life, they're friends, they're living
Yeah.
out their life. It just so happens all these external things come into play
Yes.
that are happening that forcing them to either become stronger as friends or they're going to either crumble as friends. So
Yes.
and that's life, that's what life is about.
Yes.
There are things that happen where people cheat and people do drugs and do this and kill people and rob people, and you have to figure out within all of that what's my part as a friend in that, and I think this story is a little bit different because of what's happening to all these HBCUs and how it's happening and how the government may or may not be involved. So we're trying to figure. They're trying to figure out. So within that, there's conflict within themselves because they're on two sides of the coin, and I think that's important to have that because it would be boring if one was just they both were the same.
Right.
As a writer,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. As a reader, if you're reading a book and both characters are specifically split down the middle of the same, you're gonna be bored.
Well, not only that, but yeah, the friction,
Yeah.
is what you
And they bounce off of
definitely
each
need.
other.
Yeah,
They
totally.
I think they bounce off of each other really, really well.
They do.
And that dynamic, I'm telling you, Sonny, that was very intentional. It was. I'm telling you, it was intentional because I know people like Jalen, I know people like Caleb, and I know people that's in the middle. And one is very radical, and the other one's very, like I said, a little more sensible. And in the middle is just that they're trying to get to the middle, and sometimes they go too far to the left, sometimes they go too far to the right. No pun with what's going on in America, but that's just what.
But that's just what
they are as friends, and most people have that.
Yeah, and the ability to understand and have compassion. First of all, I mean, Caleb has so much compassion for everyone.
Yeah,
and
almost too much.
Almost
He get on my nerves.
Right.
I almost wrote him off.
And then Jalen is like, then we find out sort of why he is so, angry, and he is
militant.
So,
he's militant.
Jalen
is militant. He's extremely. He's pro-black. And I always say this to people. It's not that he's anti-white or anyone else. He's just pro-black, and that's a big difference. And especially in this world that we're living in, you could be pro-Hispanic and not be anti-black. You know what I mean? You can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that's just how it is. I just think there's been a programming for so many years that it has honestly everybody has been like everything had to be like pro-white. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Like everything.
Yeah.
And
we do it unconsciously.
And that's the point.
Like I had a conversation with somebody the other day, and they were saying, to your point, they were saying, oh my gosh, I mean, there's now all of a sudden there are all these like black shows and black families.
Somebody was saying that to you?
No, a white person.
Oh my God, it's crazy.
And they were saying, oh, my God, every time I turn on the TV, now there's a black person in a commercial. And then she's like, and I'm having my thoughts, and then she said, and what is all this jive talking? Like, can't they just talk normal? And I thought, oh my God, like, did you just hear what you just said? Yeah. But that is what you're talking about. Like we white people, there's so much that we just don't even know we don't know.
But it's because of so many years, I'm telling you, and everybody that's home that listening or watching, this is what it is. I'm going to break it down for you.
Please.
It's going to be to the simplest form is that over so many years, a century, decades, whatever, it's been so many years that everything has been, pro-white. Everything in the world, banks, entertainment,
beauty.
I mean, what we think is beauty, all that stuff.
Thank you.
Businesses,
clarifying.
Everything has been that.
Yeah.
So when you're fed that for years, and then something else that's what you call an other or opposite of what you thought was the best or beauty or whatever you want to call it, then it rattles you because it's like believing in God, and all of a sudden someone's saying, well, no, there's another God too, and now you have to try to reassess. And a lot of people don't want to reassess and understand that there's room for everybody at the table, and that's the unfortunate part.
Mhm.
And the reason why there's more black shows and more, Hispanic shows or Asian whatever is because people are more conscious to it now. People are
Well,
becoming more
oh my
conscious.
God,
Yeah,
please.
they become more conscious.
I
Yeah.
want to give a little love
Hmm.
to Norman Lear right now
Oh.
because speaking of TV shows,
Hmm.
because he,
Good times
well,
and
first of all, yeah, he did Good
yeah. Hmm.
Times. And he was the first to ever do that. There are many, 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 many firsts he did. He was
Hmm.
like the first to bring gays on. He's the first to bring on abortion. He's the first
Hmm.
to bring on many, many subjects. But
Right.
I'll tell you, you may or may not know this story. He's, not that big, Jewish
Hmm.
guy.
Hmm.
He started People for the American Way because he fought in World War One and came back, and it was all about Christian, and he's like, excuse me, America is not a Christian country. It is
Hmm.
a country for all people.
Right.
So he started People for American Way, by the way, and then did Good Times, and the Black Panthers came to visit him one day.
Mm.
They came in, black leather jackets, long guns, walked in. They're like, where's that little Jewish guy?
Hmm.
And in those days, people, I mean, he walked onto the set, and Norman was in his office, and they came in and they sat down and they said, we don't like how you're, we're not liking how you're doing this,
The
like,
stories.
kind of, jive thing
Hmm.
and all of that with your characters.
Hmm.
It's like, there are rich black people, there are people who,
In the
it's like, we're
middle.
not digging it.
Hmm.
So then he did Moving On Up.
Oh, the Jeffersons.
Yes,
Oh,
the
okay.
Jeffersons,
Yeah.
Moving On Up. And
Hmm.
I love that story so much. I just love telling it because I
Hmm.
think, we can change.
Right.
But with him doing that, then he did, not only did he take their words and all that, but he actually was able to show um, the black culture in
Hmm.
a time in the early 70s
Right.
when it was so important for people, again, to have role models, for
Hmm.
people to have that. It was super, super important. And,
Right.
so he did that. And I just really, want to honor him for that because I think it's a big deal. I think it's a
But
really big
and I
deal.
also think that would be really, 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 really important if people can do that without being threatened.
Right.
In this day and time, I'm talking about today. I'm not talking about
Hello.
back then. It took a while to get to that point, but in this day and age, um, there has to be an opening. Like there has to be an opportunity for people of color, women. You know what I mean?
Oh God.
Just different types of people because the world is growing. It's growing vastly,
Oh,
especially
yeah.
America. America is like it's a melting pot. So you have to have this representation for pretty much everybody in their own little. That's why there's
And
a
why can't we? What's the deal?
exactly.
Come on,
You
people.
we can
You know?
we can it can happen. We just have to like stuff like the books and literature and media. Like we have to thrust that in.
Yes,
We
and
have
we
to.
I believe
Mhm.
books. I mean, this is no great wisdom of mine, but I mean, come on,
Yeah.
reading books is so eye opening, and
Mhm.
allowing ourselves to read other information than we may not already know. And by the way,
Mhm.
thank you for clarifying when I said beauty because you're absolutely right. It's
Mhm.
not that anything's specifically beautiful. So
Yeah.
thank you for
Yeah.
getting in with that one. But yes, and my engineer tells us, Tony tells us
Mm.
we have about 3 minutes, so I want to make sure that
Wow,
we
it's
get
been
everything in that you want. I
three
know, I know.
minutes.
It's like it's just a whirlwind. It's like so fun. But yes,
Uh-huh.
the ability to use a vehicle like writing and reading to communicate,
Yeah.
and people
Yeah.
can take it in at their own pace. That's the
Mhm.
other thing. We can. I mean, I know sometimes for me, it's like if I'm taking a lot in, it's like, okay, I want to process that. I want to integrate it. I want to
Yeah.
feel it. I'm also a real, that's why I like actual books
Mhm.
because I'll underline them. I dog ear them. I mean,
Mhm.
and I mess them all up. And
I like a physical copy of a book too.
oh yeah,
I
and
love a
I
physical
I
copy.
have authors. I've
Yeah.
apologized. Like I've had different authors on this show and stuff that are pretty famous, and I'll say, oh
Mhm.
gosh, I'm so sorry, your book is a mess. They're like, are you kidding me?
Mhm.
That's what we want our books
Yeah.
to look like. We
Right.
don't want
Right.
them to be all prissy and
And
clean.
perfect.
They
Yeah.
want them to be
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
used
Handled.
and loved and
Yes.
worked out.
Yes.
So I
100%.
want to give you kind of the last word here because I know we're going to be
Mhm.
wrapping. I
Yeah.
know you're going on your tour,
Going on a
and let's talk about
tour.
that.
Going on a tour. It starts late July, and then we'll go into August 2021. Really, really excited about it. I'm going to be going around the country to about eight cities, to encourage, inspire, reading inspire people to put the phone down, and unless you reading
Yes,
or you know what I mean,
yes.
a book or something like that. I know there's different, like I said, there's different facets to it, but for me, I just want to um, have people take back their imagination. Just take
Mhm.
it back. It's yours. It's there. You just got to activate
Mm.
it.
Mhm.
You just got to activate that imagination. I think reading is one of the biggest ways for me to give back, especially being from where I'm from.
Well, and I know that you have, I mean, you do, you have a lot of social justice and
Yeah.
injustice in your books. I mean, it is
Hmm.
a conversation you have.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's important to you. I feel
Hmm.
like it should be important to all of us. And
Right.
I think the whole, by the way, I just want to finish off that thing
Hmm.
about, someone saying we have too much of this or that. It's like, can we get over that?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so not even true. And
Hmm.
first of all, I mean, let's do the statistics. I mean, there's still, and by the way, Black lives do matter. And by the way, Patrice Cullors is not a terrorist. I know her personally, and
It's funny when people say that. When people say, Black lives, it's just
it's
funny.
hard. It's
It's funny.
heartbreaking to me.
Yeah.
It's like all lives matter. It's like duh, and
But you
that's
know
the
what
thing
though?
with the white people because
Hmm.
we just are like, we just don't even know our white privilege
Hmm.
because that's the exact definition of white privilege is
Hmm.
we don't know it. It's like being a drop of water in water.
Hmm.
Like we just are already there. We
There.
already
Hmm.
have the privilege. We don't get it. We don't know what it's like to be a black person who is every single minute of every single day
Hmm.
living a different life than we are, no
Hmm.
matter whatever is going on with them. So when
Hmm.
we do that Black Lives Matter thing or we tarnish that in the last, little bit, I just want to say briefly that there were 3 women
Hmm.
who were so upset about Trayvon Martin, and they were like, "What the flying bleep,"
Hmm.
And then I think it was Opal who came up with Black Lives Matter,
Hmm.
and then Patrice was like, "Let's hashtag it,"
Hmm.
and then they all 3 came together.
And
I'm
became that.
forgetting right now the third one's name, so I'm so sorry.
Hmm.
But the 3 came together. They're women, they're moms, they're people with hearts and families and
Hmm.
stuff like that, and all of them have been extremely important
Right.
activists behind the scenes. There's so much stuff they do you guys don't even know, and they don't want you to know, just like Wakanda. And they're doing it, they're doing it, they're doing it all the
Hmm.
time behind the scenes. And so let's just share the love and calm down.
You said, "Calm down, everybody."
Calm
But
down,
but let
everyone.
me say this real fast. The funniest thing
Please
is
do.
Black Lives Matter. We get that. We know that. That goes without saying. But I never thought my life didn't matter. That to me, that's always has been my story, and that's always been internally within me. Most Black people already know that their lives matter. You know what I mean? Even with what's everything that's going on outside of us, we know innately that our lives matter.
Well,
Because we're fathers, we're brothers, we're sisters, we're family. We
yes,
know that. We feel
yes.
that every day when we look into our kids' eyes, and we know, okay, I'm living for my child or I'm living for my family or whatever. So we know that the hashtag for me was great and it's wonderful, whatever. But I don't let that distract me. I
Okay.
don't let the idea of I'm fighting. It shouldn't be a fight.
The message is for
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
The message is for white people. You know what?
Right,
Honestly, it's
right.
not for black people. It's for, I
Hmm.
mean, it is, and
Hmm.
any black people or minority or black and
Hmm.
brown people or black and white people like Trevor Noah or
Hmm.
whoever, have it, go it, be it, feel it, whatever.
Yeah.
But I really feel like the message is for white people.
Hmm.
Just like in your book where you bring stuff up, it's like
Yeah.
for us to say, hello, knock, knock,
Hmm.
knock,
Yeah.
like, hello,
Yeah.
and what is
Just
this?
give you
Why?
all this is give you a different perspective. You know what I mean? Because
Well, an
you're in.
important
Yeah, but
perspective.
you're
It's
in.
like,
You're in. But let me tell you, I'm telling you. See, we need more time. I'm telling you, it's just like a kid in Africa. Its perspective is different from a kid in the United States.
yeah.
A kid in Egypt perspective is different. So your
Well, in
perspective,
South Africa,
yeah,
as opposed to in
yes,
Zimbabwe
but
or
your perspective
Rwanda.
as Sunny is different from my perspective. That
Yeah.
doesn't make it better or less. I don't make
Right.
you're living a different type of life. And so if I'm looking at your life, I'm like, oh my gosh, her life is amazing, it's great, it's wonderful. But you can look at my life and you can say the same thing, but it may
Mhm.
not be your life. You get what
Right.
I'm saying?
Right.
So
Right.
I just think everybody, just to close this out, I just think everybody has different perspectives.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stop expecting everybody to live the same life. You know what I mean? We're all going to have different
That's
lives
it.
in the way that we're living, whether we're black, white, green, gay, whatever, straight. It doesn't matter. Everybody's living a different life. And going up, and I always say this to my friends, I can't fight every battle.
No.
And you cannot fight every battle. So pick your battles. Whatever you're
Mhm.
trying to fight, whether it's on the internet, whether it's on social media, whatever the case may be at work, pick your battle. Don't try to fight every battle. I'm not here to fight every battle. My thing is literacy. Kids. That's my battle.
Read.
That's what I'm fighting. Like that's what I'm doing. But I'm not gonna be fighting all this other stuff because I don't have time for it. You know what I
Indeed,
mean? But just
indeed,
that. You
indeed.
know what I mean?
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. Well, wow,
Just
what a
thought I'd
way to
say
end the show.
that.
Carlos, you rock.
Thank you
So,
so much.
guys, go on the website. It's
Yes.
go in.
CarlosHardy.com is where they can buy the books.
They can buy the books. You can buy them in all the normal ways that we know how to buy books these days.
Well, Amazon. You can go to Amazon.
You know, Amazon and that sort of thing. And
Yeah.
then check out the tour and then enjoy these books because they really are great. Give them as gifts and have an expansion.
Yeah,
Open
expand.
a book, open a mind, shall we?
Expand that mind.
Indeed.
Come
Well,
on.
Carlos, we will bring on the applause because you so deserve it.
Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. I really, thank you for having me. I do.
My pleasure.
I
Until
appreciate
next time, guys, we are out.
Thank you so
Mic
much.
drop, if I could
Peace
do that.
out.